This is the first video in a set of 4 videos that are going to go over what's already in your blue book, which is a pretty comprehensive math review of topics that you're going to see on the PSAT and the SAT. The first thing is number and operations review, and you can see here a list of things that this will go through. The first thing it talks about is properties of integers. Integers, we know, are all the numbers that are counting numbers, negative and positive. Odd numbers, clearly, even numbers, all these things are pretty basic. One of the things I wanted to point out on this page was the idea of consecutive integers being n, n plus 1, n plus 2, n plus 3. If they were consecutive odd integers, they'd be n, n plus 2, n plus 4, something like that. So things to think about. On this page, we're talking about multiplication of integers. You can read about that. And then arithmetic word problems, arithmetic word problems. You get into some basic kind of examples here. I'll let you read through the examples rather than me explain them. Get into number lines. Examples of how you might want to use a number line is listed below. Some basic things. So just number and operator. You want to read through these yourself. Squares and square roots are another thing you might want to read about. You could look at this table and this kind of goes through it. But the idea is that any positive number squared or any negative number squared becomes a positive number. So that's kind of an important concept. Looking at this one, fractions and rational numbers. Kind of go through the rules here. If you kind of look at mixed numbers, one of the things you want to make sure, 2 1/3 can be expressed as 7/3 as an improper fraction. That is one of the things that you're probably going to need to know for the SAT. There's always going to be questions that use mixed numbers and improper fractions, putting those in your calculator and so on. Just remember, if you want to put that in your calculator, it's important that you don't write 2, 1/3, rather you want to write 2 plus 1/3. So that would be how you want to put it in your calculator as a improper fraction. Improper fractions are easy. You just do 7/3. So looking at these, decimal fraction equivalents, reciprocals, place value, and scientific notation, all things that you might want to read through. Elementary number theory. You got factors, you got multiples. We know what these are. You can read through that. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was the idea of a remainder. Sometimes when you solve a problem that deals with a remainder, that's kind of a concept you haven't learned in a while, but basically if a number doesn't go into another number evenly, there will be a remainder. So for example, if I take 24 divided by 5, that would be equivalent to 4 remainder. So how many times does 5 go into 24? And that would be 4 with a remainder of 4. So that's the idea of remainders, and you kind of go back and you say, like, how many times does the number go in evenly, and then how much is left over. So in this case, 5 will go into 24 4 times with 4 left over. Ratios, proportions, percents, again, all things you want to look at. Prime numbers. There's just a good review going through the book. So as you're doing this, you could read through these things. If any of these topics don't make sense, you read through it, and if you got questions, you could ask me in class. All right, then there's some more examples. Kind of go through. As you go through, you see sequences down here. Sequences is an ordered list of numbers. We know that they follow a specific pattern. Every ACT I've looked at has some kind of sequence. So you got to know if you're looking at this sequence, it goes up 4, up 4, up 4. So the next one would be 19. That's a pretty easy sequence. All right, sets, unions, elements, all good things to review. Intersection of sets. Again, all these are basic, elementary kind of mathematical concepts that you maybe just want to review because maybe it's been a while. Permutations and combinations is not so, I guess, basic. But basically, looking at permutations and combinations, if you're talking about this situation where it says there's 12 students, how many ways can you pick 2 people? How many different pairs of students can be chosen? So if you're reading this one, I'm looking right here. How many different pairs of students can be chosen? And the idea is, like, you got 12 students, you got 12 choices for the first student, and then if you pick one student, now you got 11 choices for the second. So the answer to this would be 12 times 11. And then if you're talking about the fact that every pair of students can be chosen 2 different ways, you could choose one student first and the second, and each of those pair is the same. You have to divide by the number of possible combinations of pairs. And that's this ends up being, if you're using your calculator, this ends up being a problem where it's basically 12 choose 2. Compare that to 12P2. 12P2 order matters. Okay, so remember these kind of little calculator tips, but if I'm doing this one, order matters. If I'm just picking two people and I don't care about the order, that's 12 choose 2, and that's actually what you do here to get 66. If you type 12 choose 2 in your calculator, you would end up with 66. Okay, so these are some basic little tips, kind of walking through this section with you to kind of preview what you might want to review. So hopefully this was helpful.